We're going to be building this web app, which interfaces with OpenAI's API, makes calls to it, and get responses from GPT-3. We can ask it to give us a list. Here we go, like this. We can clear the response by clicking clear. We can give it long text and ask it to summarize it. Here we go. We can ask it to give bullet points about this. I just said to give 3. Here we go. It only gives 3. We need FastAPI and Unicorn pip installed. And of course, you need Node.js installed on your system. We're not going to talk about how to do that. So let's begin with a code review. This is the index.html file, and almost entirely written by GPT-3. This is the JavaScript file, which does a fetch request, almost entirely again by GPT-3. And this is the Python file for the backend, for the server. So here we are in OpenAI's playground. What do we need? We need a title, a text area, and a submit button. We'll add the clear button later on, as it only clears the responses from GPT-3. So we are asking CodeDaVinci to write an HTML document using Flexbox and to center everything so that elements are resizable. We're asking it to apply styling to make it look appealing and to use a dark gray background. Title is this one, text area for user input, submit button for text area. Do not use a separate CSS file. I would like the styling to be within the HTML. Let's see. Here we go. Let's just copy this. And we are in the Visual Studio Code. We're starting from scratch, so we need to make an HTML file. And then paste it here. And then save it. Now to run this file, I have Live Server installed. If you have this, to run this file, all you have to do is right here, click on Go Live, and it will start a server for you. Wow, it looks nice, except for this thing. But it works. This is great. We can even resize it. It's wonderful. But the submit button doesn't have hover and click events. Let's try to add that. To try to achieve this, I just said add hover and click styles to HTML. Let's see what it does. It's writing it from scratch. Okay, it's writing the button hover, button active. This is what we want. As you see, as it was writing, it actually wrote the document and then made another request to itself and started writing. That is because I have the token set at 1000. That's okay though. We're just going to use this part. Paste it, save it, and it's going to be automatically updated. Here we go. Now it is working. And the problem with before, remember, it was showing this because I was copying this alongside of it. So that was my mistake. Next, let's make sure that when somebody enters anything and clicks submit, whatever the user has entered in this text area is displayed underneath the submit button. To be able to do that, I'm just going to copy the body part of the HTML because the rest of it is just in regards to styling. I'm going to paste it here so that CodeDaVinci has a context. To do that, I said each time user clicks submit, user input is added onto the button. Let's say script.js. Let's see what it does. It actually added a chat button, to clear the chat as well, but this is what we wanted. Let's just grab this. And in Visual Studio Code, we need to make a new file for script.js. And for it to communicate with index.html under the body tags, we need to enter this, which is a script tag with src set to the location of our script. like this. I have GitHub Copilot enabled, so it will help me complete this. We need to save it, come to script.js and paste this, save this as well, and the live server is automatically updating it. And let's see if this worked. So if you say 1, 2, 3, submit, it shows up and the text area is clear. If I say 2, 3, 4, it adds it underneath it and the text area is clear. This is good. So let's create our backend, which is going to be a Python script. Let's start with a quick example. Let's say if a user types in hello, we're going to take this text and instead of just displaying right here, we are actually going to send it to the backend, and the Python script will actually make all of the letters lowercase, will return it, and what will be displayed here will be the lowercase versions of what the user had inputted. Let's copy the body tags from our HTML and paste it to OpenAI Playground. And then we are going to enter a prompt. I asked you to write a script.js file which sends user input to a main.py file for processing. Main.py is going to be our backend. Write a main.py file which receives user input and converts it to lowercase, then sends it back to the script.js file. Let's see what it does. Okay, see, it is using Flask. We don't want to use Flask. We want to use FastAPI. This is why let's just write a script.js file. I just said script.js. And when it comes to main.py, I'm just going to make a comment saying use FastAPI and then continue. Okay, we don't want to use Pydantic. We just want to use simply just the FastAPI. Here we go. I believe these are unnecessary. Okay, let's copy and paste these. This goes into our script file, completely replaces it. Make sure to save it. Now we need to create a main.py file and copy the contents here into the main.py, save it. The indentation is wrong. Fix that real quick. Okay, make sure to save it. And then we need to start the server. To be able to do that, we need to go to terminal and start a command prompt. Then we need to type unicorn main, because our file's name is main, and then app, because our app is a FastAPI. This is just the way it is written. And then dash reload, so it has auto reload every time we make a change and save it to the file. When we run it, it's starting a server at this location. Now we need to copy this, come to the script.js file, and put it under the fetch URL. It's right after the fetch, in between quotes. And then we need to put a slash right after that. Let's just save it and see what happens. If we type in all uppercase, and also I have my console open to the right, but let me just close it for now. Let's see, when I click submit, nothing happens. So I'm just going to right click and go inspect and read. See, we're getting some errors. It says that access to fetch at these locations from origin at this has been blocked by CORS policy. So the CORS is just some kind of browser-based system to protect the client side from ill-minded scripts and stuff like that. So to be able to bypass this, we need to implement something called CORS middleware. And we need to put these addresses into its allowed list, so to speak. So I've run into this issue many, many times. So we're just going to go back to our prompt. And we're just going to add a few more things to it. Now this just comes from my own experience, but if you want to avoid a 405 error, method not allowed, this is usually related to the fetch URL address being wrong, and also your address that is displayed in the URL bar of the browser. That's what I found, I think. And I'm just going to ask it to use CORS middleware, and then to use JSON response to return the response. It just sends a nicer response back in this case. So we're just going to add this as our prompt and then just run again. Let me actually come back here and say script.js and then let it run. Okay, again, it's trying to use Flask, so it had written the script.js. So right here, we're going to make a comment, say use FastAPI. Okay, let me just cancel it because I have 1000 tokens set. It just keeps writing. You don't need that. Let's delete those. Okay, this should be it. It is imported the CORS middleware and applied it. We're going to have to make some changes, but let's just copy this and paste it here into our main.py file. Our server is still running. And let's get the script.js file and paste it into script.js. Save that. Now we need to make sure that fetch has the right address, and the fetch needs to have this address, as we spoke earlier. Put this in, put a slash after, and save it. And then in our main.py file, we're going to add that as a origins, and also 5500 as origins, and I save this. And then let's see what happens. Okay, we're actually getting an error. See, nothing happens on the browser side when I click, but this time the Python is throwing an error, and it's saying that JSON response, you cannot import JSON response from FastAPI. So you cannot actually import it from there. You have to import it from responses, from FastAPI.responses. So thankfully, GitHub Copilot knows about it. Let's just save it. Request is not defined. Let's define it. Oh, we need to import it. Let's do that. I don't think we need to do this. Let's see what happens. Okay, look, we are actually console logging it, I believe. Go to script.js. Yeah, so we are receiving it. This is wonderful. But we need to actually input. So it had gotten uppercase, and Python had converted it into lowercase right here, as you can see. And then return this input response. This is coming back to the browser as memo. Now all we need to do is, instead of console logging it, we need to print it right underneath the submit button. Let's use GitHub Copilot for this. Instead of console logging it, the data, let's comment here that says add the data to HTML after the button as a p10, and let GitHub Copilot complete it for us. Okay, it's creating a paragraph element. It's assigning its inner text to data and then appending it. Should be it. So now when we run, say echo submit, get undefined. Let's see. If you remember, when we were console logging it, it said input equals memo, right? And now it's trying to get this object's value as output. I believe this needs to be input. Let's give it another. Let's try with input, lowercase of course, and let's save it. Let's just console. Okay, let's just log the data so you know what I'm saying as well. Now if you say echo and submit, now we get exactly what we want. See, this is what I was talking about. It says input, not output. And so it has to be data.input because data is an object and its key is not dot output, but it's input. So this works now. So if we were to put mixed letters and submit, this goes to Python. Python turns into lowercase right here. And then returns a JSON response, which then we get. And then not only console log it, but also add it to the HTML. So all are mostly done through the help of GPT-3 and Copilot.
My appetite, don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Some kind of butterfly, baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite, don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak my mind. Oh, you're chilling when the rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly.
So here we're just making the request to OpenAI, but we need to assign it to a variable. Let's just assign it to response. Also, I forgot to assign my key. I've assigned it to a variable, but I need to assign it to OpenAI.API key equals key. So we're doing that so that this can work. So we're getting the response, and the response is quite long. It's a JSON object. If we were to print response, if we were to print it, let's save it. We need to click here for it to activate. We're getting nothing as an input. Here we are getting this long object. Let me make this bigger. So it's a JSON object. So there's the choice, and then there is the text. We need to access to this. To be able to do that, we are assigning it to response, right? And also we need to return the response with the JSON. So we say response and then choices and then 0th element text. As you can see, choices is a list. We pick the first element and then we get the text, just like this. And then now we're sending to the front end the exact response from OpenAI's API from GPT-3. So now if we save this and we can type 2 plus 2 equals, and if we submit, we get 4. And it actually says some more stuff. This depends on our token size. Let's see, this is a test. This is a test too. This is the kind of responses we're getting. Let's say, give me a list. Use the token size to say 30. Save it. Don't forget to save. Oh, and give me a list. Submit. And we get a list back. Now, let's hit a clear button so that we can actually clear the responses when we get them. We can actually do this ourselves. We already know that we have an HTML element of a button right here. But let's give it a class so that we can separate between the two buttons. This one's a class button submit. And then let's copy this and paste it. And now that we've done this, if you look at the script file, we'll see that, so it's retrieving the form from the document, which is the whole thing, and assigning the click event to the whole form. So obviously, anywhere in this form we click, we are actually, like whether we click submit, clear, or submit, we are actually getting a response from GPT-3. This is not what we want. So we need to get the button, actually, const button submit. And then let's get the button by class. Let's get it by submit. And then we need to change this form to button submit dot event listener. So the event listener is associated with the submit button and not the other way around. Let's see if this works. Let's just say give me a list. And then if you click clear, nothing happens. Okay, that's fine. Give me a list, submit. Oh, the problem is here. It's actually when GPT-3 was writing code, it says submit. When the form is submitted, we need to change it to click because the action click is associated with the button. Okay, now let's try it. Give me a list, submit. Oh, the class is button underscore submit. No, I think the general convention is just to use a dash. Let's save this. Okay, now it should work. 2 plus 2, 3, submitted. Okay, it's completing. Good. Okay, now that, sorry about that, just a little bit of debugging. So now we have two buttons with the class button submit and then class button dash clear. So we need to get the clear button clear, document clear, yep, dot button clear. You're getting the classes by adding a dot in the beginning of it. If it was an ID, you would have used hashtag symbol. Anyway, so now we need to add button.clear at event listener. Input value, no, we don't need to clear the input value. We need to check to see if there are any key tags and remove them. Should work, hopefully. Save it. Now we're here. Let's say hello, submit, clear. All right, let's do a few times. Clear, and it works. Let's add a bit of a margin between these two buttons and find my place around here. The button is going to have a margin of, say, 10 pixels. Yeah, here we go. This looks all right. And submit clear. Maybe can we make them the same? Why aren't they the same size? We've added the margin. So the text area is width 50%. Let's add that to the buttons. 50%. Let me save it. Okay, this looks much better. Maybe change the color of submit and clear. So we need the button background color. Let's just pick one and make it green, something like this. Save. Okay, now we need to change the clear button. I believe to do that we need to button submit. No, not submit, but button dash clear. What is that? Okay, red. Too red maybe, but this works. Okay, so now we have a working system. Let's test it for a few things. It's pretty cool that we can do this. Let's try it. Give me a list of 10 items about coding. There we go, variables, data structures. Awesome. It works. Let's give it our code. Let's give it the script.js file. Okay. And then say, explain this code to me in a single short sentence. Oh, here we go. This code is listening for a click on the submit and clear buttons, and then sending a post request with the text area input to server displaying the response in a p tag. This is awesome. But look, this doesn't look very appealing. What we can do is here, I believe we can add style to this p element right here. For example, we can say p dot style dot width equals, let's say, 600 pixels. Save it, and then if you say long paragraph equals submit. Okay, so now it's much nicer. We can actually change the color of this text. You know, we can do a whole lot of things from this point out, but I'm going to end this video here. Maybe we'll play around with it another time, but this is great. So this is a great template to communicate with GPT-3 to be able to do really anything you like. The sky is the limit after this. Let's just ask it, give me 5 names of obscure colors, like chartreuse and other. Let's clear it and not submit. Oh, Venge, Celadon, Glaucus. Venge? What is Venge? Venge is a large 343 central. Interesting. I didn't know that. Clear. Give me 5 names for interesting colors. Turquoise, magenta, chartreuse, teal, coral. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, please give it a like, thumbs up, and subscribe if you like the content, if you like to be notified. And take care.